These are in no particular order. The first one is I absolutely must perform well. If I fail, I am an unworthy and inadequate person who will probably always fail. And therefore, I deserve to suffer. The second, you absolutely must treat me kindly and fairly under practically all conditions, or you are an unworthy and horrible person who will always treat me badly, and you should be severely punished. And the third is the conditions under which I live must absolutely be comfortable, or life is awful, I can't bear it, and life is hardly worth living. Those are the three core beliefs. The common word in all three is must. Must. An absolute word that we use all the time to ourselves and to other people. We call that masturbation in R.E.B.T. The shoulda, woulda, couldas. They're the things we beat ourselves up for all the time. Disputing the irrational beliefs will eventually change the beliefs themselves. This is exactly how I recovered, and millions of other people have recovered from addiction, by unplugging the cues and the triggers and changing belief systems about the world, about others, and about the real meaning of events. In 2001, Dr. Ellis wrote a book, one of many, in fact I think it was one of his last ones, called Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, Overcoming Destructive Beliefs, Feelings, and Behaviors. In that book, he devoted a couple of chapters specifically to irrational beliefs that he found among his aging patients. There's just not a better way to say that. I mean, you know, we're all living here in a retirement community. We're a bunch of expats down here. We're an aging population. And there are a number of these irrational beliefs that are common to people in our situation and time of life. That's what I'm going to focus on for the rest of the talk. There's three categories of them. The first are self-downing or self-deprecating beliefs. The second category are those that create anger. And the third category are those that create frustration. I'm going to go through the beliefs. I'm going to kind of list them. And after that, I'm going to give a couple of examples, at least, on how to go about disputing them. How do you do that in your head? You know, how do you go through a procedure like this in your head? Well, it's pretty intuitive once you start doing it. But picking it up from scratch is a little bit difficult. First, the self-deprecating beliefs. I must do as well as I previously did when I was younger and more able, or else I am an inadequate person. I must be younger and more attractive than I am. I must not be physically weak and deficient. I should have accomplished more than I did during my life. That's a big one for me. So there's a couple of these that are big ones for me. I must not look as anxious or weak as I now do. I must not die and be forgotten. These are those that create anger. Other people must treat me kindly and fairly, especially because of my age and the limitations and disabilities that go with it. When they treat me badly, they are rotten people. My relatives, children, grandchildren, and friends must not neglect me and must treat me as well as they did when I lived closer. Other people should treat me as well as they did when I was younger and more able. People should not discriminate against me or look down upon me because of my age and my weaknesses. And these are the beliefs that bring about frustration. The conditions of my life must be as good as they previously were, and it's awful, and I can't stand it when they aren't. The special problems and difficulties of aging should not exist, and it's too hard to live with them. I need more pleasure and excitement, and life is too boring without it. I need more companionship and love, especially from those I care for. I should have the health I used to have and not be ill or disabled. I should not have to be as dependent upon others as I am now. I should not have to die and be deprived of life. Okay? Those are the beliefs that can create frustration. By the way, I should have mentioned at the beginning, I created a little handout for this. If anyone is interested, there are a few copies around by the board, by the tree, that has most of this talk in it in very capsule form. You're welcome to it. My email address is petesoderman@gmail.com. Email me, I'd be happy to send you one if there's no more available there. Now, I'm disputing these irrational beliefs. In the first place, these irrational beliefs are very strong. As I mentioned, most of the time we never even considering them. We don't look at our beliefs. We seldom, well, I won't say we don't, we seldom examine our beliefs in the light of rationality. We just don't do it. You know, these are our beliefs, these are part of who we are. Well, do we ever look at whether or not these beliefs are harmful, whether or not they're true? Okay? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to examine these irrational beliefs from several different standpoints. But remember that they've developed very strong neural pathways. Those of you who heard my last talk on neuroplasticity, I'm sure that you'll all remember that beliefs that are emotional, that are triggered by the limbic system, are the strongest of all. And they can cause us to do things without examining them anytime. There are three basic strategies for disputing these irrational beliefs. First, there's the empirical or scientific dispute. Then there's the functional dispute. And lastly, the logical dispute. From the standpoint of the functional dispute, that means looking at the irrational belief. Well, wait a minute. I just wondered now. Turn the page to soon. From the standpoint of the empirical dispute, we're looking for where is the proof? Where is the proof that this belief is true? We're looking for evidence of the validity of the belief. The second dispute, which is the functional dispute, is my irrational belief helping me Or is it making things worse for me? Does this belief work to help me achieve my goals or not? Does it help me be happier or more upset? Very simple question. And the logical dispute, is this belief logical? Does it ring true to my common sense? In this case, we're looking for ways that this belief does not stem from our preferences for love and approval, comfort and success or achievement. Does this belief blow things out of proportion, or does it overgeneralize? That's the logical dispute. Now, a couple of examples. Take the belief, I must do as well as I previously did when I was younger and more able, or I am an inadequate person. From the empirical standpoint, let's look at the first part of that belief. Where is the evidence that older people must do as well as they did when they were younger and more able? I play softball once or twice a week with a bunch of guys, just a pickup game down at the lower soccer field over here. Monday mornings and Friday mornings at 9:30 if anybody's interested. When I first started playing down there, I discovered something. There were some things that I did in my 20s and 30s that I couldn't do anymore. Okay? And for a while, I beat myself up over it. I'm human like everybody else. Where is the evidence that I must do as well as I did when I was younger? There is none. In fact, there's a whole lot of evidence that's contrary to that. I'm 66 years old. I've had 2 knee operations. I've got arthritis in both knees. My reflexes certainly aren't as good as they were in my 20s and 30s. So there's plenty of evidence that I should not be able to do as well as I once did. And the second part, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence that failure to do as well as I used to do makes me totally inadequate? Totally inadequate. Well, just because I can't catch this fly ball today, I can catch the next one. You know, if I can't hit this pitch, maybe I can hit the next one. I can still contribute. I can still have fun, which is the bottom line purpose of the exercise anyway, isn't it? Okay. From a functional standpoint, ask yourself, what results will you achieve if you command you must do as well as you once did? I can tell you from experience, it's not pleasant. Okay, you can absolutely kill your self-esteem. You can actually absolutely drive yourself down the toilet. It's not a healthy belief. Will it raise or lower my self-esteem if I command that I must do as well? From a logical standpoint, question whether you will always perform poorly. And will you truly be an inadequate person if you sometimes or often do? Part of what I said above, there's no evidence that I'll always do poorly. Another